Okay, we had the new parts come through from the factory. We'll get them on the car ahead of FP1.
What's going on, guys? It's Luke22SV here. We're here for the 13th round of the Mick Schumacher career mode here for the Belgian Grand Prix Season 2. And as you can see, we've got some upgrades to the car coming into this weekend, which should help us a lot around this track. Some engine and chassis upgrades coming into this weekend. Off the back of a slightly disappointing result in Hungary. Just didn't quite have the pace to match the Red Bulls, and lost 10 points in the title challenge with Daniel Ricciardo, as he was able to close in on us and win that race. Red Bull looking strong around Hungary, but Red Bull haven't been looking too strong recently, despite having the best car in the overall performance standings. Just haven't been able to perform, and it's been Ferrari and Renault and Sauber that have been the main three teams to beat so far in the last few races, particularly since probably the Austrian Grand Prix. But coming into qualifying then for the Belgian Grand Prix, a race that we qualified quite well last season, but obviously didn't race well because we had a little incident with Stoffel van Dorn, who wanted to come into the pits whilst we ended up wanting to go on to the start the next lap. But we had a little collision there, which put us both pretty much out of the race. We ended up colliding, having an incident in a rouge in the end, which ended our race. And unfortunately, that was not to be that weekend. But hopefully we don't have a similar race this weekend, and hopefully we can actually perhaps win this weekend. That's what we've been able to do quite a lot. We've been able to fight for wins coming into every race. Been good enough to fight for wins, but apart from the exception of Hungary perhaps. But coming on to this lap, this is our main lap, this is our best lap, and our only lap we set in qualifying. So it's going to be a good one, hopefully. And it was a good enough lap for a front row seat, perhaps. We'll find out. But here we go at the moment. Just a few corners left to go in Sector 2. And coming up towards Puon, one of the hardest corners to get right on this track. You just go down into the 7th gear, then onto the outside curb, and then going round for the next few little bends to end Sector 2. One of probably my favourite tracks on the calendar. Kevin Magnussen's got provisional pole at this stage. We should be able to go quicker than him, but we're not going to be able to fight with Magnussen for pole position. He'll be further towards the back of the grid. Haas not really looking too sharp at the moment. Particularly they looked better in Season 1 when we were fighting them, but we haven't had to worry about Magnussen too much this season. But Vettel's now going to be the target. Vettel's in the Ferrari, so that'll be a good indication to see where our pace is as we come around the final corner of this lap and go across the line. DRS is wide open as possible, and it's going to be provisional pole position. So we beat Sebastian Vettel's time, and we set a 1:42.0. We're going to end the session with that, and hopefully it's going to be good enough for pole position. And indeed, it is good enough, and it's indeed good enough for a front row lookout between two Saubers. And Vettel is third and Hülkenberg fourth. So Ferrari, those two looking strong again. 3 Germans in the top 4, like we've seen many times already this season. And both the Force Indias getting to the top 10 as well. And Valtteri Bottas is 10th. And both the Red Bulls struggling again. So great news for us. Red Bull, the Ricciardo down in 15th. So what on earth went wrong with his lap time? And Verstappen down in 11th. So can't really complain too much about that. We potentially could go 25 points further clear in the standings over Ricciardo. And that would be 43 points, I believe. It's currently 18 points clear. And as we head into the race then for the Belgian Grand Prix, and it's going to be typical Belgian Grand Prix weather as well. A lot of rain being kicked up as well. So it's going to be a wet race by the looks of it, which is going to be tricky for us. Not what we wanted at all. We would prefer a dry race, which would definitely be cleaner for us. And well, we just got to pull up with it, and hopefully we can come out strong. We had a wet race in Hungary, which actually we looked really strong in, and we managed to get from 11th on the grid to 3rd in the end. And hopefully we can stay first for the whole race this weekend. We might not have to pit though, which is good news, that we don't have to worry about losing places in the pit. But there you can see the Alfa Romeo Sauber looking at the front row. 2 Germans on the second row. Then you can see Raikkonen and Hamilton on row 3. Sainz, Perez, both the Force Indias looking good. Verstappen up in 11th alongside Gasly. Alonso and Ricciardo now starting 14th. So it looks like Hartley's going to have to take some penalties. Both the Williamses are now looking like they're fighting with the Hasses. And Van Dorn down at the back as usual. And Brendan Hartley starting from last. So we're heading on to the race then for the Belgian Grand Prix. It's going to be a difficult start, but can we get a good launch? Can we cover off our teammate? Can we cover off Vettel? Are we going to be able to win from pole position as well, as it's lights out and away we go? And it's a fairly poor start from us as Leclerc gets past us into turn 1. We break in nice and early as possible, but we almost clout the inside wall as we turn in too early, and that forces out Leclerc. And Vettel and Raikkonen are coming through as well, so disastrous start for Leclerc. He's not going to be happy with my antics there. But Vettel coming up towards the Eau Rouge corner. We're side by side. He's on the outside. We go out of shape because of trying to avoid Vettel, but he comes back onto the track, and now that's put disastrous for us. We're in a spin, and Leclerc goes on. We've ended up in a spin thanks to Sebastian Vettel and ourselves, both of us being put down to the back of the grid now. He has to wait for us to do a 3-point turn and get back towards the rest of the pack, but a complete disaster at the start of this race when the championship was looking in our hands almost. At this point, we're looking to gain so many points on Daniel Ricciardo after his poor qualifying, but now he's going to be in prime position to gain points on us since we're so far down the order. And here is the replay of the start. It was a fairly good start from Vettel, a fairly good start from Hülkenberg, and a great start from my teammate as well. We got the better line out of turn 1, but we just ended up clouting him in a little bit of wheel banging. That forced him down a little bit, and ended up being Vettel and Raikkonen profiting from that. As we go up towards Eau Rouge, we can see both Sauers side by side with both Ferraris there. As you can see, Vettel on the outside, we're on the inside. He goes off the track, we go off the track, and it looks like he collided with Raikkonen as well. So Raikkonen could be in trouble, and we're in trouble. We end up in the spin, and Vettel ends up going towards the back of the grid as well. Complete disaster for both of us. Not what either of us would have wanted. And well, Vettel was looking so strong in the last few races, so he's going to be really disappointed that that's happened as well. Here's the onboard with Sebastian Vettel coming up to Eau Rouge. He's getting better of the line at the moment, and we end up lifting off a little bit, and he's more braver, but ends up being too brave perhaps. Comes back onto the track in front of Kimi Raikkonen, and Ferrari are not going to be too happy about seeing that happen, and everyone's just slowing down, seeing us just lose a few places. And Vettel just kindly waits for us to do a 3-point turn and allows us to carry on in 19th place, and he goes down to 20th. So Ferrari going to be in trouble. Perhaps the Raikkonen may have to come back to the pits as well. So coming towards the end of this lap, there's Raikkonen's actually managed to hold up everyone. It's only Hülkenberg and Leclerc that managed to get out of it. So Raikkonen holding everyone up, coming through Blanchimont. We've caught up so quickly with everyone, and there's going to be yellow flags as well. Leclerc sets the fastest lap of the race. There's yellow flags. Why is there yellow flags? What has happened? There seems to be loads of debris everywhere. Raikkonen's coming to the pit, so we're going to be up into P18 as we catch up with Brendan Hartley, and we're going to get a run on Brendan Hartley going into turn 1. Perhaps we've got green flags now, so in 18th place, can we salvage anything from this race? We're down the inside of Hartley and Grosjean into turn 1 and taking 16th place, so we gained 3 places in a couple of corners there with Raikkonen pitting, and both the Ferraris in last place. But let's have a replay of what happened here. Why is there yellow flags? And the main culprit, of course, none other than Magnussen, who ends up hitting Alonso. Alonso gained several places, but Magnussen runs straight into Gasly, and Magnussen loses front wing. Gasly loses front wing on the back of the Red Bull there. So Magnussen and Gasly both having front wing damage, and that's going to slow them down a lot, and maybe they both have to pit. But we'll see next lap if they do come into the pits, but they're going to be slowing it down a lot and holding people up, so we'll be able to make a profit of that as we code up on these guys as well. You can see Stoffel Van Dorn, Sergei Sirotkin and everyone else, and going through the next corner we can actually see Van Dorn going so slowly. We managed to go round the outside up into P15 already, and Sergei Sirotkin is next, and Magnussen's there as well, and we go round the outside, both of them into this corner. Was a very unexpected move, but we get past Magnussen and Sirotkin. Magnussen, albeit going a little bit slower because of his front wing damage. And now the next target for us is Lance Stroll, and then it looks like Pierre Gasly as well. So perhaps Gasly isn't too badly affected, although he is going quite slowly. So maybe the Toro Rosso and the Haas will have to pit at the end of this lap. We'll see shortly. But Gasly is holding up Lance Stroll. So that's good news for us. We can get past these two and we'll be up into P11 as swiftly as possible. And then we can look towards getting towards the points as well. So Stroll is being held up by Gasly quite a lot. So hopefully coming through the next sector, we'll be in sector 3. Blanchimont's coming up, and then the bus stop chicane. That'll be a good overtaking opportunity for us. But it's very difficult in these wet conditions. If you go a little bit offline, it can put you in a spin. And coming through Blanchimont, we end up slowing down, and we're a bit out of shape. The back end wants to kick out, so we come towards bus stop chicane. Gasly looks like he's going to be pitting at the end of this lap. And indeed he does look like he's going to be pitting, but Stroll, and we get past Lance Stroll because Stroll's getting held up by It looks like it was Pierre Gasly, because Gasly was braking so much early with his front wing damage as he pits, and now we're up into P11, and our next target is Daniel Ricciardo. So despite our disappointing start, and despite Ricciardo getting a good start, we're still just one position behind Ricciardo, who's going to be 17 points, although 16 points now behind us in the championship, as he's fighting with Max Verstappen at this stage. And Lance Stroll's going to get a nice toe on us in this first sector, probably going to be his best sector of the race because of his because of his toe on the back of our car. And coming through the first sector, he's still right behind us, but we won't have to worry about him too much now. We should be able to get away from Stroll, and should be able to close in on the Red Bulls, hopefully. We are behind, it looks like, one of the McLarens as well. So you can see that both Red Bulls caught up with them almost immediately, because they're both side by side fighting over P9. It looks like they're both just side by side all the time. And perhaps Verstappen should concede the place to Ricciardo, because Ricciardo is the main title contender at the moment, just 18 points behind. And that could swing in anyone's favour in just a matter of a few races. And we just have to keep scoring as many points as possible. And of course, the start of this race has not helped that at all. We've potentially thrown away a race win there as well. Depends. It looks like Leclerc and Hulkenberg are miles down the road. So unless there's a safety car in the next couple of laps, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to catch up to our teammate and potentially win this race. But it doesn't look like Ricciardo's going to be able to challenge for a win here either, because he got himself down in P9, and there's several cars to negotiate before he can even get close to the podium. And well, here we are behind Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo through Blanchimont, and it looks like we're closed in a lot on this lap. As you can see, they're both fighting again. Verstappen goes to the outside, and side by side again, both the Red Bulls fighting very hard for P9. Means a lot to them. Verstappen wants to get back in the title fight perhaps, but it looks like Ricciardo's the main man at the moment for Red Bull. We crossed the line, and we're just within a second, and surely now we can think about overtaking one of these guys, or both of these guys perhaps, coming onto the main part of this main overtaking opportunity. Eau Rouge though, they're going side by side towards Eau Rouge. Could that be a repeat of perhaps lap 1 between myself and Vettel? We come through Eau Rouge. Ricciardo's got a slightly better exit, he's got the inside line. They both stay on the track, but Verstappen gets a poor exit out of Eau Rouge and Radion, and we get past him nice and comfortably. Ricciardo's our next target, and we should easily be able to get past him as well, and we do. There's yellow flags, and Ricciardo jumps back ahead of us again, but Hamilton is there, and Hamilton's in the wall, so perhaps those yellow flags were before we managed to get past Ricciardo, before the yellow flags were out. Then he got past us as the yellow flags were out, so Ricciardo perhaps had to give us back the position there, so we got past Ricciardo just in time, and we're up into P8, and we've gained 3 places just like that. And here's what happened with Hamilton, who was fighting with Carlos Sainz over a position, and Sainz goes to the outside. Hamilton's on the inside. Who's at fault here? It looks like Hamilton and Sainz. Ooh, maybe there was a sort of racing incident perhaps, but maybe Sainz should have gave him more room. But in the wet conditions, it's always easy for an incident like that to happen, and Hamilton's going to be disappointed, but he's going to be going towards the back of the grid now, when he's going to get a good sum of points from Mercedes. But now it closed in on Fernando Alonso, Valtteri Bottas and Esteban Ocon just down the road as well, and 3 places more we could gain here, so P5's looking possible with 4 laps to go. And Alonso, can we get past him, who's doing a really good race for himself as well. McLaren have improved slightly over the last few races, particularly Alonso, although Stoffel Van Dorn finds himself at the back of the grid most of the time anyway. But I'm pretty sure he'd be at the back of the grid if McLaren had one of the best cars, because his AI is really underpowered on this game for some reason. And coming up to the next corner, we're closing on Alonso, but is it going to be good enough to overtake? He goes to defend on the inside a little bit, and almost think about cutting back underneath, but Alonso shuts the door really aggressively, so we're not really too happy about Alonso doing that, and we're desperate to get past him now. And coming through the next corner, where we've overtaken a few cars here already, and Alonso's almost potentially getting past him there, but could not do it this time. So the more we stay behind Alonso, the less chance we've got of getting past Bottas and Ocon. It looks like Sergio Perez is down the road, Carlos Sainz, but it doesn't look like we're going to be able to catch those guys up, unfortunately. But Alonso is ahead of us, and it looks like there was a problem with Sergei Sorokin as well, so he's going to come back to the pits for a new set of tyres. So a lot of cars having problems this weekend, particularly in the race. But Alonso now, we're really close to Alonso, but at this point Verstappen's closed in on us as well, and it looks like Ricciardo will be closing in on us as well, so we've got to get past Alonso before we end up losing positions again. And can we do that here? Because we got a nice little toe on him going through this next few corners. Are we going to overtake him before Blanchimont? We just drive straight clean past him. So we're up into P7 and there's yellow flags. Alonso's gone off the track. Did we make contact with him? Did Verstappen make contact with him? I don't think we made contact with him, no. And Bottas and Ocon are fighting as well. So we've closed in on them just so easily there. But what happened with Alonso? Here we go with the onboard of him. You just see us darting past him. And for some reason, Alonso just drives straight off the track. So no one made contact with him. It was just a complete error by Alonso himself. So don't know what happened with Alonso. He doesn't make mistakes like that in real life. So just an AI error there, really, from Alonso, as he's now fallen into the clutches of Ricciardo. So with just 3 laps now, or 4 laps left to go, Bottas now fighting Ocon, and Ocon looks like he's come out on top a little bit there. As we can see, Bottas is, we're smelling an opportunity on him. Can we get past him as quickly? But as we come through the field, the faster the cars get, the harder they are to overtake. And Bottas isn't going to be an easy car to overtake, as we're looking for an opportunity, the right opportunity to get past him. With just a few laps to go. But if we can get up to P5, that would be good enough to be happy with, I think. It doesn't look like we're going to do any better than P5, because Perez, it looks a little bit too far down the road at this point. And then it looks like Sainz is also a little bit too far. And then Hulkenberg and Leclerc are definitely not going to be able to catch them. But there we can see Ocon is still holding up Bottas a little bit here. And there's going to be a few trainer cars now, because Verstappen, who had a nice door open for him by Alonso, has now caught us up as well. So Red Bull, despite having a disappointing qualifying, looks like they've shown that they've got good race pace still. So we definitely have to be worried about Red Bull, although it's a bit concerning that they've been so poor in qualifying as well. But coming through Blanchimont and up to bus stop, we're really close to Bottas. Are we going to overtake him into the bus stop chicane? We think about it, we dive down the inside into the final corner, and it looks like we may be able to get past him here. Or though we're side by side, we get the better exit out of the bus stop chicane, and we're up into P6. And we're up into P6 with just 3 laps to go. Now can we get past Esteban Ocon for P5? That would be probably the end of the overtaking that we would be able to do today. As you can see, Sergei Sorokin comes out of the pits as well. So can he be an influence on myself and Ocon? Remember, Hakkinen and Schumacher had a huge influence on overtaking in the 2000 Grand Prix, when Hakkinen overtook Ricardo Zonta and Michael Schumacher to retake the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix that day. And well, here we are behind Ocon. This is where Hakkinen famously overtook Schumacher using Ricardo Zonta, but it doesn't look like we're going to be using Sorokin for the same purpose this time out. As we can see, he's a little bit further down the road, but there's yellow flags and someone has looked to be out of the race, and I think it may be Sergei Sorokin. There's no one else slowing down around us, but Sorokin's going really slow, and yes, it is Sergei Sorokin, and we used a perfect opportunity to overtake Ocon, who is literally asleep then at that point, and he's lost a few places, lost a place to Bottas as well. So overtook Esteban Ocon using the back marker in the end, and we move on to the end of lap 11 now. Bottas got up to P6, so we ended up finishing in P5 by the looks of it. Leclerc sets the fastest lap of the race, so it looks like we would have struggled to win this race had we been at the front from the start anyway, because Leclerc was on fire in this race. But perhaps we would have been on fire too, perhaps if we didn't have this incident with Vettel at the start of the race. But coming towards the end of this lap then, and the end of this race, it's going to be P5 by the looks of it, and it's going to be 10 points, which is going to put us a little bit further ahead of Ricciardo in the title. And I think Verstappen's got more points than Ricciardo, so are we going to have to worry about Verstappen as we cross the line? P5 is a good recovery drive, but again, that's 2 poles now that we haven't been able to convert into a win. It's not what we want, and sooner or later we've just got to convert one of these poles into a win. Although we've only had 2 poles this season. Leclerc's, I think, has had 1. But here's the end of the race then. Leclerc winning from Hulkenberg and Sainz, so Renault getting another strong result. Frederick Vasseur getting used to winning all of a sudden this season. And, well, here we come onto the podium with Leclerc surrounded by 2 Renaults. Both the Renaults been on the podiums a lot in the recent few races, particularly Hulkenberg. As we can see, he's very happy with that. We come towards the end of this race then, and here we are with the final result, and it should show up now. Leclerc and Bottas actually had a penalty in the end. Alonso finished 7th, and Verstappen fell down the order, so for some reason Alonso managed to get back up to 7th. Verstappen had an issue, and Ricciardo finished outside the points, so now we are 28 points clear of Daniel Ricciardo again, and so that's basically undone the damage done from Hungary. So 28 points clear of Ricciardo, with just running out of races left. I think it's 7 races left now. So with 7 races left, we've got a 28-point gap, which is fantastic news for us as we look to the standings. You can see we're 28 points clear, 46 of Leclerc. Leclerc's now almost going to be our main rival, perhaps, for this title. But Hulkenberg and Vettel will be coming up as well, and it looks like Hamilton's going to be sinking down the order because Mercedes are no longer the car that they were at the start of the season, and Ocon as well going up to 10th, as both the Renaults are slowly coming up the order as well, particularly Hulkenberg and Stoffel van Dorn overtaking Sorokin. Alonso getting some points from McLaren, which were much needed, and we've managed to retake the lead in the constructors from Red Bull. Renault for overtaking Ferrari, and we're looking to catch Mercedes fairly soon, and they're only a few points behind, so we expect Renault to be 3rd. But that's going to be the end of the episode there, guys. That's the Italian Grand Prix in 2 days' time. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing. I'll see you soon.